I'm sure you've heard the news. Edmundo Gonzalez, Venezuela's opposition leader, has left the country. Edmundo Gonzalez, Venezuela's opposition presidential candidate, has sought asylum in Spain after a disputed election in July. Accused of various crimes by the Maduro government and fearing arrest, Gonzalez had been in hiding since the election. Spain's foreign minister has confirmed Gonzalez's departure and asylum request, emphasizing Spain's commitment to the political rights of all Venezuelans. This move comes amid heightened political tensions in Venezuela. The opposition disputes the official election results, which declared incumbent President Nicolas Maduro the winner. They allege widespread irregularities and claim Gonzalez won by a significant margin, citing detailed voting tallies uploaded online. The international community, including the United States, the European Union, and several Latin American countries, has questioned the election's legitimacy. Calls for the release of detailed voting data have grown louder. Adding to the turmoil, the Maduro government has detained over 2,400 people since the election, prompting concerns about human rights and democratic backsliding in Venezuela. Stay tuned as this story continues to unfold, highlighting the complex political landscape and the fight for democracy in Venezuela. A deadly shooting at the Allenby Bridge crossing claims 3 lives, escalating tensions in an already volatile region. 3 Israeli civilians were killed in a shooting incident at the Allenby Bridge crossing, the sole official entry point between Jordan and the occupied West Bank. The attacker, approaching from the Jordanian side in a truck, was neutralized by security forces, and the vehicle is under inspection for potential explosives. The victims, men in their 50s, fell prey to this senseless act of violence. In response, Jordan has closed its side of the border and launched an investigation. This tragic event occurs amid a surge of violence in the West Bank, following Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7. Over 600 Palestinians have died in the ensuing conflict, leaving the region on high alert. The Allenby Bridge, also known as the King Hussein Bridge, holds significant importance as it bypasses Israeli territory. As the investigation unfolds, the world watches closely, hoping for peace in a land torn by conflict. Stay tuned for more updates. Am I the only one that didn't know tensions could escalate this quickly? Here's the latest update on the Israel-Hezbollah conflict. Tensions have surged as Hezbollah launched dozens of rockets into northern Israel from Lebanon. This attack, which included over 20 rockets, triggered air raid sirens and forced residents to seek shelter. In immediate response, the Israeli Defense Forces retaliated with artillery fire and airstrikes targeting Hezbollah's rocket launch sites and military infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Fortunately, no casualties have been reported so far. This escalation follows a volatile period, with clashes between Israeli forces and Palestinian militants in Gaza adding fuel to the fire. Hezbollah, backed by Iran, has declared its support for the Palestinians, threatening further intervention if Israel continues its operations in Gaza. The situation remains critically tense, with the potential for further conflict if both sides do not exercise restraint. The international community is calling for immediate de-escalation and caution to prevent a wider conflict. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. This is your news source, keeping you informed with the latest from the Middle East. Today, the situation in Gaza has taken another tragic turn. An Israeli airstrike on a school serving as a shelter in Gaza's Jabalia refugee camp has resulted in the deaths of 8 Palestinians. This shelter provided refuge for families seeking safety from ongoing conflict, but it became a target in the latest series of airstrikes. The Israeli military says the strike targeted what they claim are Hamas facilities. However, this has led to significant civilian casualties and heightened tensions. The attack on the school shelter has drawn international condemnation, with many expressing deep concern over the targeting of civilian areas. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is worsening by the day. With rising death tolls and destruction of essential infrastructure like homes, hospitals, and schools, the civilian population is under immense strain. The conflict, which reignited after a brief ceasefire, has seen significant casualties, including women and children. Calls for a ceasefire are growing louder. Tens of thousands of Israelis are demanding an end to the hostilities, pushing for a peaceful resolution and the release of captives held by Hamas. The international community is also urging both sides to show restraint and prioritize humanitarian concerns. Despite these calls, the conflict shows no signs of slowing down. The United Nations has scheduled an emergency meeting to discuss the situation, but whether a unified response can be achieved remains uncertain. Humanitarian organizations are struggling to provide aid amidst the escalating violence, facing difficulties in accessing the affected areas. Amidst the chaos, news outlets like Al Jazeera are providing critical coverage from the ground. Their journalists are documenting the human cost of the conflict, shedding light on the realities faced by those caught in the crossfire. Accurate and unbiased reporting is more essential than ever, helping to inform the world about the dire situation in Gaza. As we continue to monitor this developing story, it's clear that the need for a peaceful resolution is urgent. The human toll of this conflict is immeasurable, and only through dialogue and diplomacy can a lasting peace be achieved. Stay tuned for further updates on this tragic situation. For now, our thoughts are with the victims and their families, and we hope for a swift end to the violence. Thank you for tuning in. France is facing a political storm as tens of thousands protest Macron's latest decision. President Emmanuel Macron's appointment of Michel Barnier as Prime Minister has sparked outrage across France. Over 100,000 people gathered on Saturday, rallying against what they see as a denial of democracy. The protests, organized by trade unions and the New Popular Front, stem from the rejection of Lucie Castex, the candidate favored by many on the left. Barnier, known for his role as the EU's former Brexit negotiator, has expressed a willingness to form a diverse government. However, the left remains incensed, accusing Macron of ignoring the election results. They demand policies such as raising the minimum wage and lowering the retirement age. Demonstrations span from major cities to rural towns, signaling the start of prolonged unrest. The far-right national rally could become a key player amid the turmoil, adding to the complexity of forming a stable government. As Barnier works to withstand a vote of no confidence, France's political landscape remains tense and uncertain. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing situation. If your neighborhood looks like a war zone, you're witnessing a tragedy. The Israeli Defense Forces have completed one of their largest operations in years, withdrawing from Jenin after 9 days of intense military action. The toll is devastating. At least 36 Palestinians, including children, lost their lives along with one Israeli soldier. Residents of Jenin and its refugee camp, confined to their homes with utilities cut, now face the aftermath. Buildings reduced to rubble, infrastructure shattered, and lives irrevocably changed. The IDF claims success in dismantling terror infrastructure and capturing over 30 suspects, yet the price paid by civilians is immeasurable. This operation follows a troubling escalation of violence since Hamas's recent attacks, pushing the death toll to over 600 Palestinians from intensified raids. As Jenin's residents emerge to assess the damage, the real cost of this conflict becomes heartbreakingly clear. Stay informed as the story unfolds. This is not just a news report, it's a glimpse into the human cost of war. If you follow Middle East politics, then you need to hear this latest update from Yemen. Yemen's Houthi rebels have claimed responsibility for shooting down a US MQ-9 Reaper drone over Marib province. This region, known for its vital oil and gas fields, is currently a hotspot in the ongoing conflict. This marks the 8th such incident since 2014, where the Houthis have targeted these advanced surveillance aircraft. While the US military acknowledges the Houthi claim, they state that there's no confirmation regarding the loss of any US drones. The Houthis allege the drone was engaged in hostile activities over their airspace, though they have provided no evidence for this claim. This latest incident has escalated tensions. Reports indicate that the Houthis have retaliated with airstrikes in areas they control, although the US has not confirmed these actions. With increasing attacks on shipping routes in the Red Sea and conflicting reports from both sides, the situation in Yemen remains highly complex and volatile. Stay tuned for more updates as this story develops. If you're a follower of global politics, you need to hear this breaking news. The United States has just informed its allies that Iran has transferred short-range ballistic missiles to Russia. This move marks a significant escalation in Iran's military support for Russia's aggression in Ukraine. According to Western intelligence sources, this development follows Iran's earlier supplies of attack drones and ammunition. The White House has expressed serious concerns, warning that this partnership could lead to more Ukrainian civilian casualties and destabilize European security. Iran denies these allegations, claiming they do not supply military aid that could escalate the conflict. However, US and European officials argue otherwise, highlighting the potential for increased destruction and loss of civilian lives. This missile transfer comes at a critical time as Russia intensifies its missile and drone attacks on Ukrainian cities, particularly targeting civilian infrastructure. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. I'm sure you've heard the news, another life lost in the ongoing conflict. This time it's a Turkish-American woman who was fatally shot by Israeli soldiers during a protest in the West Bank. Aysenur Ezgi Agi, a recent graduate of the University of Washington and a dual Turkish-American citizen, was shot in the head during a protest against Israeli settlements. Agi was volunteering with the International Solidarity Movement at the time of her death. Witnesses reported that the protest had been peaceful until the shooting occurred, further escalating tensions in the region. The U.S. State Department has confirmed Agi's death and is calling for a thorough investigation into the incident. The Israeli military has stated that they are investigating the shooting, which has ignited international condemnation and calls for accountability. This tragic event marks the third death of an International Solidarity Movement activist in the West Bank since 2000. Agi's death serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing violence and repression in the region. The world watches as the call for justice continues to grow louder. Stay informed, stay aware.